So, COVID is traveling up and down like a roller coaster. We call it the COVID coaster. I was going to say COVID oster, but it didn't make sense, so we're calling it a COVID coaster. Here's what we know so far. There's over 2,500 new cases and 20 new deaths. One new death in New Oasis County with 12 new ones. 5.7% positive since the 19th. Over 31,544. And since the 25th, which was 2 days ago, over 1,400 people in ICU, with over 1,100 people hospitalized. Vaccination rate, 73% have had at least one dose, and 61.3% have had fully vaccinated. 17.1 million, 7 million, and 21.1 million. Now, as for the state of Texas, 46.6 doses have been given. Fully vaccinated people have had at least 17.8, and 61.3% have been fully vaccinated. Give a recap. And for the U.S., 574 million doses have been given, 219 million fully vaccinated, and 66.6% have been of the population has been fully vaccinated. We're not out of it yet. We're starting to see the light. So Philadelphia ISD still at stage 2 of migration. Affected areas are closed with deep cleaning. That's excellent. So, let's look at the list. So, Monday we had one case, one independent student, rest were zeros, and now we have a pattern here. Today, just today, there was one student who tested positive for COVID. You see, we're seeing a pattern here. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's a pattern. Up, down, up. You look at these cases, there's a pattern. What do you mean there's a pattern? I mean, you look at the cases, you get zeros and you get one case. But that's not all very important. The important thing is the district is doing a great job. The district is doing a good job in enforcing, in just keeping us safe, making sure that we're doing what's done. So, that's some good news for us all. But the White House works to make a COVID pill more accessible. How accessible will it be? Watch.
After starting her day at the West Wing, we should note she is vaccinated and boosted. But that comes...
Begin tonight with what could be good news. Today, the White House took steps to make a pill for treating COVID available to millions more Americans. Pfizer's antiviral drug Paxlovid has been shown to reduce hospitalization or death in people with COVID by nearly 90%. The drug that was once dubbed the biggest game changer since the vaccine hasn't had a true impact due to a lack of availability. The free antiviral drug is available at about 20,000 sites around the country, but now there's hope that could change. That's not the only headline on the pandemic tonight. There's this breaking news. Pfizer just asked the FDA to authorize its booster for kids ages 5 to 11. That's important because the CDC says 75% of that age group has had COVID at least once. And here in the nation's capital, we learned Vice President Kamala Harris tested positive for COVID-19. The White House says President Biden is not considered a close contact. We have a lot of news to get to tonight, and we'll start with CBS's Mola Lenghi in New York City. Good evening, Mola.
Well, good evening, Nora. The vice president tested positive this morning after starting her day at the West Wing. We should note she is vaccinated and boosted, but that comes with the White House already having COVID at the top of their agenda with the rollout of a new plan to make it that powerful anti-COVID drug widely available on pharmacy shelves nationwide. Paxlovid is one of the most effective antiviral tools for treating COVID.
I mean, we would get to the rest, but
If
there's
only
not
more
enough
people
time
could get
here.
their-
So there's only 6 minutes. We got a minute left. So, in the meantime, what you guys need to do is to make sure you're vaccinated, social distance, masked up, and make sure you follow the safety protocols. And if you are not vaccinated, make sure you get vaccinated. And if you qualify for a booster shot, make sure that you make sure you just take the steps. Quarantine, make sure that you know. So here are the side effects. The common side effects of the latest COVID-19 pill, if you decide to take it: altered or impaired sense of taste, diarrhea, increased blood pressure, and muscle aches. Those are the common side effects with mild. However, coming up on Wednesday, coming up on Friday, we'll tell you, we'll just dedicate 6 minutes to answer these questions and tell you again the latest side effects. But we do have, but there's still a lot more to come tonight. Still to come. CCSD is now updated their security with an alarm. How does it work? We'll tell you. Then we're also going to talk about a school district that's under attack because of maintenance, because of what students has discovered was moldy stuff and broken stuff and electrical hazards. Plus a lot more. Don't go away. Up front tonight, a community crisis. Now, weeks ago, we told you about CCSD's violence after Jonathan Martinez Garcia had been charged with over 15 counts of assault, battery, burglary, and robbery. He now could face years in prison, as now he's charged as an adult. And for weeks, I've been telling you this case and staying on this case, giving us some updates. But this is the update. And amid the school violence, they addresses the Instant Alert System, the IAS. How does it work? Well, let's take a look together, or to listen.
Do yourself a favor and get what you really want. From breakfast tacos to burgers, Favor is
calling it a community crisis in our valley. Clark County School District Superintendent Dr. Jesus Jara is speaking out after weeks of violent school attacks against teachers.
And he offered some insights into the district's plans to address violence, mental health, and healing. Reporter Alicia Patillo joins us now live in the studio to explain the actions the district is now taking. Alicia.
Well, Dave, Tricia, they say it takes a village to raise a child. And today, Dr. Jara shared the district's collective plan to shut down school violence.
Keeps me up every night.
Superintendent Dr. Jesus Jara spoke out today for the first time in 2 weeks, condemning violence in our schools and calling it a community crisis.
So there's a crisis in the community that's come into our schools. I want to be very clear that that's what we're dealing with.
Dr. Jara made it clear he was on a mission to fix the problem, joined by a team of experts in emergency management, law enforcement, and mental health, all committed to stopping the violence.
We're going to do what we need to do to make sure that our children and our staff, all staff, teachers, support staff, and our administrators feel safe in our campuses.
The district has now established what they call an instant alert system, providing training and communication to teachers and staff on campus in the event of an emergency. When we asked Michael Wilson, the Director of Emergency Management, about the specifics of this system, details were guarded.
We don't want those who will do harm to our students and our staff to be able to know how we will respond and what our procedures are.
Wilson says the staff at El Dorado High School were the first to be trained on the new system. You may remember a teacher there was the victim of a violent classroom assault by a student.
We have multiple communication systems already in place to deal with emergencies inside of a classroom or inside of a school. Each one of those were reviewed.
The district says they intend for all CCSD employees to undergo system training and have access to the instant alert system, but it won't happen overnight. Lastly, the district says it's taking steps to address the mental health crisis within our schools.
We also have telehealth services on all of our campuses now.
Now, Henderson, North Las Vegas, and Metro Police Department will provide increased security at campuses until the end of the school year, which is just a couple of weeks away. I did speak with the Clark County Education Association for their reaction to the district's improved safety approach. They told me the actions were all steps in the right direction. In his remarks today, Dr. Jara also sent a huge thank you to the thousands of teachers within the district who have done their part in helping our students. Live in studio, I'm Alicia Patillo reporting.
Thanks, Alicia. Also,
and I really hope this works out, because there is a lot of violence going on in our schools, and we have to tell kids to stop. That's not the way to solve problems. If you're angry about something, what you need to do is to solve the problem. Like, if you're angry about something, you need to talk. Communication is key. Violence is never the answer here. So I really hope this idea works. I mean, we're a couple weeks away into the school year, into the end of the school year. And I really hope that throughout these first couple of weeks will be great. I mean, may remember these incidents happening, but the first school was trained, and I'm very happy, and I'm glad, and I'm proud for people, for the first school trying it out. I hope it really works. We'll provide you updates with this case as it goes along, and on future Give Me a Breaks, we will let you know what happens. Because trust me, I know a lot about violence in our schools. I've seen it happen. I've seen it in the news. I've seen it in person. I've seen it everywhere. Now there's some sad news today. Now for some sad news just hours ago. A school bus driver full of kids got hit by a car which was driving over 100 miles per hour. But there's a twist to this story. Listen.
A man allegedly took off running, abandoning his child after a crash that snarled traffic.
Oops, sorry. There we go.
I booked our hotel and kayak.
You kidding me? These freaking advertisements on YouTube, man, they're trying to make, these channels trying to make money. Don't question about it. Take a look.
One second, kids are laughing and talking, and the next, they are thrown on top of each other. This video, released by the Albuquerque Police Department, shows the moment of impact when a speeding Ford Mustang hits a school bus full of middle school students. Kids climbed out of windows and the emergency door to safety, while adult bystanders who witnessed the crash came to assist the frightened kids. According to the Albuquerque Public Schools, there were 23 students heading home at the time of the crash. The bus driver and 7 students were sent to the hospital for their injuries. 2 of the children required surgery, 1 for injuries to their legs and 1 with a pelvic fracture. Police say the white Mustang was allegedly racing another vehicle and going over 100 miles per hour when it struck the bus. The driver was charged with 2 counts of great bodily harm by a vehicle, a 3rd-degree felony. This is Inside Edition Digital.
Wow. And I'm glad that that action was taken. When we come back, a school district is under attack. A Give Me Back investigation has uncovered some new details with a messy school and a superintendent who got fired with students up in arms. We'll show you a video. We'll show you what the students made for their video about disgusting school and needed problems when we come back. Now for an update on the story we first brought you. You may remember this season we brought you a story about a kid named Ethan Crumley who was the Oxford school shooter. Now today, 2 things happened. Number 1, the Detroit Free Press reported about a Law & Order episode that seems to rip headlines on parents charged in the Oxford case. According to the Detroit Free Press, last year's Oxford shooting is the apparent inspiration for a Law & Order episode scheduled to air at 8 o'clock tomorrow. The titled Legacy episode concerns the shooting of a headmaster in an upscale private school that, according to the description, featured on several TV-themed websites. A brief preview that's been posted by some of these sites and puts the phrase ripped from the headlines on the screen. The plot appears to revolve around whether the father of the alleged teen shooter is also culpable for the crime. An off-screen voice apparently wants to says, "I want to change his father for murder, charge his father with murder." Jennifer and James Conlon have been charged with 4 counts. The prosecutors say 4 days before the shooting, the couple brought their son the gun. The Law & Order preview had another similarity to the Oxford case. Clip shows close-ups of disturbing drawing with guns. Violence and anguish faces detectives Cameron Bernard, played by Anthony Anderson, and Frank Cross, by Jeffrey Donovan, are seen standing by a school log for which a disturbing drawing removed. When contacted by Free Press, the publicist from NBC said no previous screens of the episode and interviews with the producers were available. Now, Law & Order was revived in February this year, has a long tradition using real-life events. Past crimes and scandals I've gotten a Law & Order treatment include the death of Anna Nicole Smith, the killing of John Benet Ramsey, and the child sexual abuse allegations made against Michael Jackson. Now, the victim, another update to this case, the victim is now speaking out. Tuesday brought an emotional tribute to the heartbreaking account from a survivor of the deadly mass shooting last November at Oxford High. In honor of the Crime Victims' Rights Week, student Kylie Aldrich broke her silence today in her own words. She sent a powerful message to one of courage and strength for most painful times. She never spoke publicly until today about the horrific day that changed the countless lives, the day that the school sure opened fire. The parent also has 2 children in Oxford schools. Looking ahead, she's focusing on living lives. Today's events also follow Steve Roos, the first responders, hospital workers who play an important role in the healing process. So, good job for coming forward, and I hope that you go to their trial in October. So again, Crumley's charged with murder, with counts of murder. The parents are charged with involuntary manslaughter. Their next trial dates are in October. We're starting our season 6 premiere, and we'll bring you updates as it comes along. Give Me a Break continues in just a moment. If you went to DeKalb County School, if your child goes to DeKalb County schools in high school, you may have noticed a video going around on social media about students discussing that it needs maintenance problems from the sink to the ceiling with electrical problems. I would show you the video, but it was very disturbing to watch. It was very, very disturbing to watch. I couldn't even take it anymore. I couldn't even take it. But this resulted in a Give Me a Break investigation that no one should afford to miss. Let's start by looking at the video. Now, in that video, they claim to be right. I mean, raw sewage, moldy. It needed to be repaired. But a lot of times, now that it has been addressed to the board and the superintendent's saying hold off on that until another board meeting, they're under scrutiny for what happened. But what we now know so far is that the state is sending a scathing letter to the schools. But first, before we get to that letter, let's bring you up to speed.
Do yourself a favor.
Tales tonight as the DeKalb County School Board haggles over renovations to a number of aging schools, and the nearly 100-year-old Druid Hills High School has been the subject of controversy after students made a video showing deteriorating conditions inside. The school was on the priority list for renovations this year, but got voted off a couple of months ago. And last night, the board voted again to scrap plans to modernize it. Instead, they'll spread $36 million across several schools to fix them. We spoke with DeKalb County School Superintendent about the move.
But we're going to continue to plan for the larger items that were also identified as of concern for our students. But we were also aware of all of those concerns previously and have been working to put a resolution in place. And we're going to continue to do that, not only for Druid Hills, but for all of our schools across the district.
We asked on more specifics which schools will receive immediate work and what it will entail, but the superintendent says it is too early to know for sure.
Now, after that, they voted. Now, after that, few videos later, the board addressed it and students posted a video, but the state sent a scathing letter to the schools. Let's take a look.
Top educator is ordering the DeKalb County School Board to fix problems at Druid Hills High School immediately. Today, the state sent a scathing letter criticizing district leadership. This comes after the county school board voted against major renovations to this high school right here. CBS 46's Patrick Quinn has been tracking this ongoing issue. And Patrick, this letter was more than just words. What the superintendent wrote could prove costly to a lot of schools in the district looking for a facelift.
Sean, that's exactly right. Tonight we are tracking your tax dollars and how they're being spent to improve schools here in DeKalb County. And today, the state, they sent this letter, very critical to the District of DeKalb County leadership there. And they're very critical over how they're handling renovations. And it was all started by the conditions here at Druid Hills High School. On the heels of a student protest and the State Department visiting Druid Hills High School, in this letter, the state superintendent says, quote, "I will not recommend DeKalb County School Facilities Plan for State Board of Education approval, while these fundamental issues and concerns remain." Those issues highlighted on camera in a student-made video made by Druid Hills High School students, claiming they have constant leaks, while sewage pooling, exposed wires, and rampant mold.
The state has used the one major lever they have.
DeKalb School Board member Marshall Orson said because of the superintendent's stance outlined in this letter, now in jeopardy for the entire district, millions of reimbursement dollars that the district would be eligible for under a local facilities plan.
I would call it perhaps a Druid Hills Plus issue.
Orson said 8 projects could especially be at risk to Cary Reynolds Elementary School, Dresden, Idlewood, Stoneview Elementary Schools, along with Sequoia Middle School, Cross Keys High School, as well as Druid Hills. What do you say to those maybe parents who have students not at Druid Hills, but within the district to ensure confidence in your leadership?
Well, that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles for us to overcome.
Orson recognized this letter shows the issue is bigger than Druid Hills. The state superintendent criticizing the DeKalb County School Board, saying, quote, "Your governance has also cited a perceived lack of funding. In reality, there has been a lack of leadership, responsibility, and urgency regarding this core responsibility of DeKalb County schools." And speaking of DeKalb County schools, how did they react to this letter? They told me they got it this morning, just as we did as well. So they're still trying to figure out the ramifications to last week's vote, which again, it rejected significant renovations to Druid Hills High School behind me. They said they should know more in the next month or so in terms of when renovations would start across the district, what the funding source is, and again, which schools are prioritized. Live tonight in DeKalb County, Patrick Quinn, CBS 46 News.
And the superintendent responds after the firing over school repairs. So let's take a look at this.
According to the
I hate advertisements. Period. Alright, let's take a look.
Breaking at 11 o'clock, the former superintendent for DeKalb County Schools speaking out tonight. Just hours after her firing, the school board voting to part ways with Cheryl Watson Harris at a meeting this evening. And it comes amid outcry over alleged mishandling of taxpayer dollars for much-needed school renovations. A video produced by students showing leaky ceilings, rusty equipment, and deterioration.
CBS 46's Patrick Quinn, live tonight in DeKalb County. And Patrick, you spoke with one board member just moments right after that vote.
That's right, and I also was able to text with Cheryl Watson Harris herself. She told me she was caught off guard by this latest action, and in a text message again just moments ago, she told me she was, quote, blindsided by the board's action She said they were on a Zoom meeting and she was suddenly, quote, released from the Zoom meeting without notice. She said, I have not received any formal notification from the Board of Education chair or vice chair. Nonetheless, Watson-Harris has been fired, effective immediately. Cheryl Watson-Harris is out as superintendent of DeKalb County Schools. In one of her final interviews, she told me last week she felt the storm brewing after the board voted against major renovations to Druid Hills High School.
This situation has caused angst in our community, questions from our scholars, but we are better together.
Better together? The board didn't think so, instead naming Dr. Vasan Tinsley as the interim superintendent. In an email, a spokesperson for the board said they expect Dr. Tinsley to be the leader the community currently needs. But not everyone on the board backed this decision.
I'm really sad. I think this is not a great day for DeKalb County.
Marshall Orson said it's unfair to pin the current controversy over school renovations on Watson-Harris, who arrived June 2020.
What happened with Druid Hills was a decision of the Board of Education, not a decision of the superintendent.
I think it's BS that they're taking her out.
Joey Kukin, who graduated from Druid Hills in 2020, said a lot of the issues inside the school, highlighted in a recent student-made video, existed before Watson-Harris's reign.
It's just them trying to use her, like I said, as a scapegoat because it's getting the pressure off of the school board.
In an email, the board cites a loss of confidence in Watson-Harris's leadership through tough challenges as a reason for this split. For Orson, a board member himself, he said this decision reflects badly on the DeKalb County School Board.
And this is harmful, I think, to our students. And as just a citizen, as a former parent, I would be concerned.
And now starts the process of finding the next superintendent of DeKalb County Schools, a process I'm told is expected to take months, all while consequential decisions like when and how to renovate Druid Hills High School hangs in the balance.
And it wasn't a balance. Now let's see what the governor has to say.
Jelly eating.
Because let me tell you why. You can't just say, "Oh, let's postpone this and remodel all the other schools." Are you crazy?
In DeKalb, the school system introducing a new temporary superintendent today, and it comes less than 24 hours after the former head educator was fired.
The district claims the decision was solely about putting your children first. The change comes after an uproar over poor conditions at Druid Hills High School. Students bringing the issue to light in this video earlier this month.
We have team coverage in DeKalb County, starting with Zach Summers, who heard the board's response today. Zach, good evening.
Good evening, Sean. The state superintendent, Richard Woods, he called the firing of former superintendent Cheryl Watson-Harris a step backward. DeKalb County schools, they could lose millions in state funding if the Department of Education refuses to recommend the district's facilities plan, which many believe the board has mishandled.
This is not a political thing.
Calling for change, DeKalb County School Board Chair Vicki Turner and select members of the board welcome Dr. Vasan Tinsley as the new interim superintendent of DeKalb County Schools.
I'm here for the challenge. I will tell you that. And I'm here as long as I need to be here in the interim capacity to make things work for the students and staff and the community of DeKalb.
Tinsley, who retired from the district in 2020 after 25 years of service, steps into her new role as school leaders face scrutiny over recent decisions related to school renovations.
You've been hearing about just one school, but unfortunately we have over 135 buildings, and all of those buildings require attention.
On Tuesday, a day after the state superintendent blasted the board over its handling of conditions at Druid Hills High, members voted 4-1 to fire former superintendent Cheryl Watson-Harris, a decision Watson-Harris said she was blindsided by.
I have not heard from anyone who thinks that this move was a good idea.
Georgia State Senator Elena Perrin sent a letter.
Now the governor.
We just received a response from Governor Kemp. He says in a statement, "I am highly concerned that these serious issues in DeKalb County could be a result of a school system choosing politics over students, families, and educators." The governor said his office will remain in close communication with the Department of Education and...
Are you crazy? Schools choosing politics? Give me a break. Back in with final thought. As you just heard, the superintendent was fired for all this, for this incident, and I agree with the state superintendent. They did this backwards. And I have to agree with the state superintendent. They went backwards, which was a step backward. And yet they want to claim that it's a political school issue. It's not a political school issue. You had a school, one school that needed to be repaired, and you said, no, we're not going to focus on that school. We're going to focus on all the other schools. You have a month to decide. A month. To stand up, take responsibility, and say, okay, this is what we need to do. Stand up, take responsibility, be a board member. Don't lose the money. You have one school that you haven't repaired, and all you want to do is sit up here and say, nope, all you want to do is have your former boss come up here and say, nope, we're going to sweep this over, we're going to shove it to the side and focus on all the other schools and do remodeling. That you guys could lose funding if this goes along. What you need to do is to make sure this doesn't happen again. And as the interim superintendent, you've got to make sure you know what you're doing as the interim superintendent, so you know this doesn't happen again. But I'm really gonna hear a lot of buts. But this, but that. There is no but. But means forget what I just said. I'm now gonna tell you what I really mean. And I'm glad this is not happening in Bluff, because if it did, I would be all over this like flies on pie. Well, I wouldn't be banned or whatever, but it doesn't matter. But we'll bring up to date in this story, and on the future shows, we'll tell you what happens. But all month long, we're celebrating our 5-year anniversary, which is going to be airing on Sunday. This is added to the countdown because of what I saw. This was very disgusting. The first time in 5 years of this show, I've never dealt with issues like this. So Dorado Hills High School is the next countdown on our list. Tune in on Friday for another outrageous Give Me a Break, and the next number at our 5-year countdown. That's all there's to Give Me a Break Wednesday. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday. And again, tune in tomorrow for another outrageous Give Me a Break. Tune in on Friday for another outrageous Give Me a Break, and the next number at our 5-year countdown. Until next time, America. Good night.